lot that I put up with in just 2 years of being with him. I mean, he was putting his hands on me. We weren't even together anymore. You know, he just got mad one day because he found out I was dating. We were still living together because we were trying to figure out, you know, how to separate everything.
Right.
We weren't sleeping in the same bed for months. And when he found out that I finally was like moving on and, you know, taking those steps towards like seeing other people, I'll never forget it. He came home. It was 4 a.m. He came busting in the door and he choked me out. You know, I had to call the police. It was really dark. It got really dark. It got really bad. And all I kept thinking was, I don't deserve this, and my daughter doesn't deserve to grow up seeing a man put their hands on her, because that's exactly what she's going to grow up thinking that is okay. Right. The only reason why I put up with it is because I watched my mom go through the same thing. So I'm like, oh, well, you know, here I am making excuses. He's young, you know, he's upset today. You know, he's going through a lot. The media, they're so mean to him. Like, no, I could do it. I could save him.
I was not expecting you to call me.
My oh my. All right, guys, listen. We're talking to you guys about Derrick Jaxn, Keke Palmer, Falynn. Just a real quick one. I don't want to make it too long because I got to get out of here. But I want to talk about these three because I feel like they're the unaccountable trio this last few days. The Keke Palmer situation, let's deal with that really quickly first. All right. I know a lot of you guys have your own personal opinions. You may feel, you know, what you feel. I personally feel like Keke is cheeky for dropping this video with Usher. Okay. After, especially, I feel like they're not broken up. I thought they were, but then it seems like old boy's gone onto Instagram and is talking about how, you know, people are talking for him, and he hasn't said anything about their relationship. And I'm like, oh, I thought y'all were broken up. I thought y'all were done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're saying people are not speaking for you, but I'm like, I thought y'all were done. I thought it was over. But clearly, it seems like they're still together potentially as well. It says Darius Dalton responds to reports alleging he's moved on from a relationship with Keke Palmer. I haven't spoken to anyone about anything. I was like, so wait, this could have been you guys making your own marketing. This could have been you guys doing your own thing. This could have been you guys just moving mad, and, you know, getting one over us, basically, right? But here's my thing. As a man, how much are you willing to sacrifice your soul to get one over us? How much is the bag really worth? Look, now you look like a mumu. All right? Now you're looking like a mumu. Now you look like an idiot. You're willing to sell I mean, this is Hollywood, so you're willing to sell your soul for this kind of moment. I'm just like, I'm looking at it and I'm going, so if you decided to come up with a storyline with you and Keke, right? You've hung each other out to dry. And I say this all the time. I talk about this. People who do, if this is you guys scamming us, right? You're actually not doing us dirty like you think you are. You're doing yourselves more dirty. Because then that's when we start talking and start putting ideas in your head. That's when you start listening to what our feedback is, and that starts planting seeds in your minds. You may think you're doing us, but you're really doing yourself. If you really are about a relationship in terms of trying to make sure the relationship stays intact and that you have a healthy one, not only for yourselves, but for your kids, then you doing this ain't it. Okay? You doing this with Usher involved ain't it. If that's what we're saying, publicity stunt, right? Okay? So it may be fake. It may have been something, you know, that's mad or whatever. But I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna keep it like it's a real situation. Okay, all right. I think Keke had every right to, you know, say something, to open up her mouth and say, "Hey, look, I don't like what you did on Twitter, and it wasn't for me." I think she has every right to say that. Why would she not be able to say that, right? I think where you go one step too far is what I just saw. That video with Usher is that one step too far. Yeah. And I said this in my other video. I said, if a man was to do this, the word NPD would come out with so much speed, it'd be ridiculous. Like, we would say that he's embarrassing her, he's shaming her, he wants to ruin her, he wants to hurt her. That's what we'll be talking about, right? When the very person who, And I say this because obviously my viewpoint, let me give my viewpoint first and foremost, because it might be confusing. My viewpoint is that when he dropped the "you're a mother," we did some research and we found out that he doesn't tell the truth. When he gets frustrated and situations, he posted about the fact that he can't always tell the truth. It's something else, and then he kind of says something, right? But the aspect of you saw her leave the house, or like she tweeted, said that you saw me leave the house and you knew I was going to an Usher event. Therefore, I think we can conclude here that this probably isn't about Usher, her going to an Usher concert with that dress, because you saw her leave the house. What you probably are getting vexed about is the fact that she ended up twirling in front of a man and the hand placement was a bit close and she was a little bit excited at that time and that moment. So, you know, that we can see, right? Because you saw her leave the house. So you wasn't angry about her leaving the house. You knew she was going to an Usher concert. So that's not the issue. There is something else obviously going on from you. But that's probably, I'm not saying that's absolutely 100%, saying probably, right? Now, here's my thing. I think when you see the situation with her, Usher and him, if the point of contention is Usher, then going to Usher after it's like the biggest slap punch kick in the face that anyone can give anybody. And in fact, and I put it, and I keep saying, if a man did this, because that so that some people can actually understand what's really going on. Because sometimes I've heard from some women, it's like it's a well done moment. It's almost like it's like a great well done moment. And it's like it's not really a great well done moment. Do you know what I mean? Right? Because if the point of contention is somebody who was in your relationship, right? If the point of contention was somebody in your relationship, then you break up. Let's say you break up because of that issue. And then when you break up, that person then not long after does a whole music video with that person and then kind of making a reference to the "I'm a mother" situation. You're gonna feel like it's a slap in the face and a kick in the face. Like, you know what I mean? So it's gonna make it even more insinuating. Now everyone's talking about Usher's got a girlfriend. Yeah. Has that stopped anybody? Please, has that stopped anybody? Usher's on his divorced twice and he's on his girlfriend. Please, you know what I mean? Like, so for me personally, I'm saying that I felt like it was a little bit disrespectful for her to go on and do this. I think there was other ways she could have handled it. Other ways she could have handled it. Also, as well, and here's my thing, and I always say this too. If you slap somebody, you can't complain about how they hit you back. So, in some regard, I actually understand where Keke's coming from. I'm like, she done the supervillain thing there. I can't be really too mad at it, right? She's supervillain, and I can't really be mad at it too tough. So, for me personally, the dark arts, well played, Keke. Can I be honest with you? The dark arts part of me says, well played, baby. You had to let him know what it was. Yeah? The other aspect is also saying for a healthy relationship, yeah, this is if they stay in a relationship, he ain't gonna forget that. Oh, he ain't gonna forget the Usher video. You know what I mean? And that's my thing. It's like that's gonna be embedded in somebody, right? And if they genuinely are in a relationship still, I'm scared that will come back up in a relationship later on. That's an insecurity now. So I think that personal aspect of the healthy relationship, I don't see that being helpful for a healthy relationship. So that's why I was like, it's a little bit unaccountable, because I was like, she already started doing a song as well about, we don't need these niggas, we don't need these men, you know what I mean? We can be independent, that. And I'm like, okay. So for me personally, that first part, I'm like, yeah, I'm not with it with the Keke situation. All right, moving on then to moving on to obviously Falynn. I want to say this: Falynn and Jalen situation, right? So there was that video I just showed you guys. Let me bring it up for you guys again, the Falynn and Jalen situation, because I was like looking at Falynn and I was like, hold on a minute. She's now saying all this stuff, but it's now after she's been called a groomer, right? So Falynn and Jalen.
There's a lot that
I want to go to it, Falynn and Jalen. I think it's a little bit sussy, right? That this video comes out now.
put up with in just 2 years of being with him. I mean, he was putting his hands on me. We weren't even together anymore. he just got mad one day because he found out I was dating. We were still living together because we were trying to figure out, how to separate everything.
Right.
We weren't sleeping in the same bed for months. And when he found out that I finally was like moving on and, taking those steps towards like seeing other people, I'll never forget it. He came home. It was 4 a.m. He came busting in the door and he choked me out. I had to call the police. It was really dark. It got really dark. It got really bad. And all I kept thinking was, I don't deserve this, and my daughter doesn't deserve to grow up seeing a man put their hands on her, because that's exactly what she's going to grow up thinking that is okay.
Yep.
The only reason why I put up with it is because I watched my mom go through the same thing.
Okay, so it's crazy. I think she's talking about. At a point, she was talking about Jalen, not Simon.
So I'm like, oh well, here I am making excuses. He's young.
Yeah, they're talking about Jalen, not Simon. And it's interesting because just like the Simon situation where she bold-faced lied, we're here now in a situation where you've been called a groomer. He called you a groomer, and it was a wrong wording because he wasn't groomed. But manipulated potentially, yes. Ended up looking after her, her kids, and her 2 sisters. My God, at 23, I think he was 23, where he started looking after her whole entire family on by himself. And it's so interesting to find that now after the breakup and after he comes out and says, you know what, I feel like I was manipulated by her and done dirty. And I found out that literally after we broke up quickly, she's now in another relationship. I'm like, well, I think if we go deeper, my villain side of me says, you know what, smooth move. Old girl made sure she had a second one set up before she left. She said, hey, I'm gonna make sure I have somebody on the side before I move to the next one, right? The villain part of me says, you got to stop, before you move, you have another job lined up. That's what she did. The healthy relationship in me says, I feel like that she's lying about the situation. I don't know, because she's lied bold-faced before, right? So, and this guy really was in deep with her, and I guess because obviously nothing like this ever been mentioned from her before about Jalen, I'm a bit like suspect about it. I'm like, I want to believe her, but I can't. You know what I mean? I want to believe her, but I can't. This young boy who seems so infatuated by you, who seems so almost taken aback by you, is the one that you're saying is the one that was choking you out and coming back and choking you out. I don't know. I can't get with it. And when I saw the comments, when I saw the comments before, and when I saw the comments too, a lot of people also don't believe her, because when you were talking about your last relationship, your last marriage, and you're talking about you and Simon, you bold-faced lied about you weren't cheating, right? Meanwhile, you were pregnant, okay? And the baby came out at a particular time and showed that you were definitely cheating. So, I mean, this is it's hard for people to want to then believe you, especially when we saw you two on the show and we saw that you were the one that was being more the aggressor towards him. When I say aggressor, and I don't mean aggressive, but aggressor in terms of even he didn't even want to sleep with you. The boy didn't even want to sleep with you. Now, someone might say, well, someone does that as an abuser. Like he didn't want to sleep with you because he couldn't think. He had so much stress on his mind, he couldn't think. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I don't know if I believe this woman straight away. And I feel like this could be a bit of a smear campaign to make herself look good, because it wasn't long ago, and I'll show you as well, where he spoke about being, about like he felt like he had been groomed, because there's an age gap between the two of them. He's 23, I think she's 29, right? She's far more older than him. She's at least 6 or 7 years older than him, as well. So there's quite a bit of an age gap. I think when they Falynn and Jay, let me see. Let's see if I can get their ages. But yeah, there's quite a bit of an age gap between the two of them in their relationship. And when I watched them on the show, I watched them on retreat, the couples retreat, I was like, the dynamic between the two of them, she has the power. You know what I mean? And he's only just started saying no. You know what I mean? He's only just started saying no. And she spoke about her relationship with Simon and how the power dynamic situation happened. And, you know, I could see when they were talking about her issues and her situation on the couples retreat that there were some heavy traumas there, not just for her, but for him too. There's some heavy traumas between the two of them. So clearly this is two traumatic people, and that's why I think they found each other. But he was a whole houseboy, whatever, gardener, whatever you want to call it. And you know, he himself was very young when he met her, right? And I think he got infatuated by this young lady, by this older woman, you know. I think he got infatuated. I think he got sucked in, you know, and he got used. The game is a game, and I'll talk about it hopefully next week when I get more time. But the game is a game. You know, the game is a game, and I was like looking at the Falynn situation. And I want to be able to get it up for you guys so you can see what I was talking about in terms of the part where she wore the groomer t-shirt. Like, it was wild to me that someone says about your groomer and then you turn it into a t-shirt to wear. Like, that's what was scary for me. I was like, oh baby, no, she kind of scary. Like, when you do them kind of stuff, those kind of people, you have to be careful of them kind of people, you know, that will mock you in that moment, even though like the thing shouldn't even be mocked. Rather, she should be like, you know what, that didn't happen. Da, da, da. Instead, she chose to mock by having a t-shirt done. I'm like, so you found time to even get a t-shirt and do this? Like, how is that something showing that you are compassionate, or at least, you know, you are not the person that they say you are, right? So here we go. If you want to see this, look. So I'll put it bigger so you actually can see it. So he had an interview where he said she was a groomer. Now, of course, it was wrong. The wrong wording he used. He apologized in public and said it was a wrong word. But this is after he says groomer, you know. After he said she's a groomer, the old girl went and took a t-shirt and made a t-shirt called the groomer. Right? So what is going on here? Right?
Mm-hmm. Let us know how this thing first began. I was groomed. What do you mean by that? I was groomed, and the way she made it seem as if he was doing her wrong. Mm-hmm. And then when I come to find out, I'm on the other side now. So it's a narcissist. Mm-hmm. She groomed me and got me together with telling me like he's doing this to me, and I felt sad for her. And being a friend, that's what narcissists do. Mm-hmm. They groom you to make the other person look bad. Mm-hmm. So when you do something, you won't feel bad about it because you feel as if they were treating that person wrong. Right. So I felt bad for her, and I saw that she was a great friend. She was a great person. And, you know, we were out in Cancun. Mm-hmm. Let us know how this thing first began. And, you know, drinking, one thing just led to another. And that's just how it happened. And right there, that's when I knew I was in love with it. Like, right. And it was too late to turn back. And, you know, drinking, one thing just led to another. And that's just how it happened. And right. Something to the fans that they used to tell me, what's the saying? You lose them, how you get them. Oh, wow. And that's exactly what happened. I lost her, how I got it. And here we are today. I wasted 2 years. I won't say I wasted 2 years of my life, but I lost myself within my relationship with her. Mm-hmm. And now I'm left alone to find myself again. When I helped her find herself in her relationship when she was lost. Mm-hmm. So now that I'm lost, I'm no longer good for her anymore. Something to the fans that they need to tell me. My situation is way different because, like I said, I love hard. And when we broke up, there was already somebody in the picture. And come to find out, her 9-year-old was already calling him dad. Yikes. And I was still in love with her. Still to this day, I still have love for her to some point. But so I was hurt. Absolutely. Like, I'm the type of person, I would have never done that to you. I would have never abandoned you and just left you and moved on with life. And she has so much trauma in her life. I'm scared to let my daughter be raised like that. My situation is way different because, like I said, I love hard. And when
fans were speculating that you may have been cheating on Simon.
Simon doesn't get caught unless Simon wants to be caught.
He convinced you to join a show, and now he's engaged to another one of the cast members.
God, the balls on him.
You had this woman in your home. She met your family. She swam in your pool. Do you resent that?
I meant what I said when I took my vows. It hurts like hell. I love hard. I love really hard.
All right, cool. Oh, hold on. So basically, they were creeping around as well. So he's not innocent because this situation, he stole her from somebody else, right? Okay, so he stole her from somebody else. This is them creeping around at night, coming home, etc., etc. This is him on a holiday with them. Took him on his first trip abroad. Okay. All right, cool. Now, listen, first and foremost, the word grooming, I think, was incorrectly used on this occasion. He wasn't groomed. You know what I mean? He wasn't groomed per se. You know what I mean? He wasn't groomed. And he came out and apologized. He actually apologized and said he used the wrong word. So he actually put a post out. It's picked up by Shade Room. They put it out and said it was a wrong word. He admitted to the wrong word being groomed. So groomed out the window. I don't believe he was groomed, right? Number one, I think he's also culpable. If you steal somebody's wife, yeah, I can't defend you like you're like you're an innocent victim. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Like, you know what I mean? You could have been manipulated. Don't get it twisted. But I'm saying to you at the same time, you're gonna have to be accountable because you stole somebody's wife. Yeah, there's no level of amount of manipulation for you to enter a relationship where you stole somebody's wife. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Yeah, you had sex with her before she was divorced, and you impregnated her foolishly, and now you're in a situation, right? So that's first and foremost. You gotta be accountable, right? You gotta be accountable. Now, you may have been manipulated in the area of this, which is she might have lied to you about how bad that relationship is. Yeah, like most people, you know what I mean? Like most people, like you get into a situation where somebody's divorced or in the process of divorce, and they kind of lie about their situation, and then they don't tell you the full truth, right? So they manipulate you. Yes, so you, in some shape or form, you would have been manipulated. And yes, there's an age gap between you. I think there's like 6 or 7 year age gap between the two of them, right? He was considerably young, maybe like 22, 21 or 22, I don't know, age, whatever. She would have been, what, 27 or whatever, 27, 28 at the time when she did that, right? And if I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember what age they were exactly, how old they were, etc., right? So she's 32. She was 32 then, so she's 33 now. And how old is he? Okay, there's a bigger age gap. There's a 10-year age gap. That's a bit bad. Guys, hold on. That is an age gap. Okay, so there's a 10-year age gap between the two of them. But it's not just that, it's the fact that the timing, because he was also her assistant. Oh, I can see why he used the word groomed. I still think it's a wrong word. I can see why he used groomed, because he was her assistant. There's a 10-year age gap. Oh, groomed is probably the wrong word. I think power dynamic, took advantage of the power dynamic is a better word. in the sense, right? That he was 20. How old would it have been? Because 2021, she was 32 and he was 22. Okay, so her birthday is May 1989. So she's gonna be 34 right now. And Jalen is now November. He was reporting in 2020. So 2020, he was 22. So at the time when they were together, I think by the time they would have been together, oh baby, they don't look good. He could have been like 20. It should have been like 30. It's a little bit. Again, it is not grooming. It's not grooming, but I can definitely see why he chose. I can definitely see why he might have started that way, because that is a 10-year age gap. You work for her. She ends up lying to you about the current crop of situation with her and Simon, telling you that Simon was doing X, Y, and Z when you weren't really doing it. Then one drunken night, y'all, it's not looking good. I need to do more research. I'm going to do more research into it. I'm not going to make no judgments now. I'm going to go deeper into it and talk about it. And then we can have details on it. But it's not looking good. That's what I'm going to say. All right? It's not looking good. And so now he obviously found out what she was like. Now, again, I'm going to say this once more, okay? You have every responsibility to hold your loins, okay? I am not saying that her being close to you didn't impact you. I'm not saying anybody. I would say the same thing for a woman as I'm going to say for a man. I don't care whether she was 10 years older. If you choose to enter a sexual relationship with somebody, okay, and you choose it, I'm sorry, you don't get to turn around after and be like, well, I was working for them. And no. You chose, you weren't threatened, right? You didn't feel like you were going to lose your job. Then I need you to be very honest about the situation, right? I didn't think I could say no. Hey. Okay. All right. Hey. So for me personally, I'm going to say that in this regard, you still have to be accountable. For me personally, you still have to be accountable. Whether you're a man or a woman, I don't give a heck. If you chose to have a sexual relation with somebody, knowing they were married, because you knew, because she was telling you information about how bad he was, then I have to hold you accountable in that aspect. Okay? All right? So for me, I don't want to say grooming, right? But he took it back. So that's why. He took it back. And so we're not, I want to take his words for it and say it wasn't grooming, it was manipulation. And I think that happens to a lot of women and a lot of men, right? More women probably than men, but this happens. So I think what your full complaint now is more about the fact that she has manipulative tendencies that actually featured in the relationship, which is what I saw in the show. On the show, I saw those manipulative tendencies, right? I saw those manipulative tendencies. But the manipulation also touches on the fact that you don't know how to assert yourself in conversation. And this is what happens when you are dating someone considerably older. If you're not an assertive individual, you're going to find your voice drowning out. It's very easy for your voice to be drowned out. Very easy for you to be not be able to say anything. You know what I mean? But then you've also had a kid together as well, and that's just, whoo, baby. You've also had a kid together, and that just adds to the spice of it all. Man, like it makes it more difficult. It makes it more harder to really separate y'all. And so I'm not gonna lie to you. She has 3 kids before this, and you ended up fitting the bill because you was looking after her during the course of time. You became the main provider. It's not looking good. Okay. I mean, it's not looking good. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah. My God. So they've been together for almost 2 years because 2 years because they got together in 2021. So he would have been, he would have been 22 at the time. You know, Jalen himself, his own background, he didn't have no father figure. That's the problem. He didn't have a father figure. This is what happens when our sons don't have father figures either. They need father figures to be responsible individuals, right? This I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there. And then finally, obviously, some questions around obviously Derek Jackson, because I know some people had different thoughts about Derek Jackson on the day that we spoke, and I felt like it was a great conversation.
I love my kids, and that was the whole plan, to get back to where we can both be in. But yes, for a time, I'm gonna be away.
Oh. I think that's stopped.
Be away from the house most of the day. So I had about an hour or two per day of quality time that I could do, and on the weekends a little bit more. But what I understood what she was saying, because I want to speak for her, was her saying, I want you to do some of the things with the kids, like wake them up, get them to school,
okay, the daily task.
And we had a little bit of a beef about that, because I'm like, hold on,
you work from home. I mean, I guess she was working, but she was a stay-at-home wife. But then she would help you on some back-end stuff. You saying that's your role. You got the time for it. Let me go hunt.
It was a plan, and the plan wasn't just that she be, because that's a hard job.
All right, so talking obviously from yesterday, and I think my internet's trying to play up a little bit, so let me just be careful. But speaking from yesterday, obviously great conversation yesterday. Loved the different opinions and different thoughts that we're having yesterday. There was so many different thought processes. There's so many different thought processes that were happening, and I think what was key about this is that there were the conversation yesterday, which I won't go too deep into because I think I want to do a separate live for that. And I genuinely want to hear thoughts about that later on in the week. But I saw some comments on my page that were saying they felt like he was being accountable. And I wanted to clear up some of those things. The reason why I felt like he wasn't necessarily being accountable is because how quickly he decided to flip the script onto Daenerys whenever he was talking about his issues. So I felt like he wasn't necessarily being fully accountable in regards to what he was doing. I felt like he was, being, he was saying his part, but then skipping over it really, really quickly. And that's why I felt like there was a lack of accountability in some of the issues that he was talking about. I felt like he could have been doing more in that regard. I felt like he could have, used far more I statements. I felt like he could have stayed with. I feel like he could have stayed with. I feel like he could have stayed with more of his statements about what he did. And I just felt like if you listen to Daenerys Jackson's interview versus his, you just hear the stark difference. And I felt like the whole interview, and I don't want to rehash what I said the other day, but the whole interview is a rebuttal. It's not actually, it's a rebuttal, not more of my own story. Like it's almost like point for point what Daenerys said. Let me either confirm it or add some more detail to it. And I just felt like he could have sat in that place a little bit longer and really expanded and said, hey, this is where I really went wrong. I can really see where I contributed. I can really see where I did this. I can really see where this. And that for me is where I feel like there's no accountability. And so that's why I said I don't think he was accountable. Just because you explain a story doesn't mean you're actually being accountable. And if you start explaining why you did what you did, but you don't, but then you start talking about the other person in more detail, then am I really hearing accountability, or am I hearing you try to give an excuse? See, if I'm saying that I know what I did what I did, and I explained this yesterday. I said, I gave an example where I said I was wrong. I did this. I gave an example and I said, hey, I took a girl out, she had a man, and I still live in a hotel, and and I was doing this and I was doing that, and I was wrong. I manipulated her at this point, and I gaslighted her in this point, and I lied in this point, and and I stayed with her. I said, hey, look, and I was wrong because you know, I know better now, right? I know what a healthy relationship looks like. I know that if somebody wants it, I don't need to manipulate the situation, right? But I didn't really hear that from Derek Jackson. I didn't really hear that, you know? Um, and so I think it's a closeness of, it's a closeness of, it's a closeness of it's a closeness of the breakdown of Danae's points, right? So like you say you want to create this great story where both people get their opportunity to say their piece, and I agree. And I want you to state your side of the story. I just want you to also that you watched part of her interview, right? And you saw how she was saying, I did X, I did this. But and there's a lot of times where she took accountability for what she did. And so my thing is, why then, if you watch part of an interview and you're rebutting it, why are you not giving us the same kind of energy? Why is it that when you are explaining it, you go on to explain, but she did this, or the reason why I cheated, I was getting rejected. It's immediately after. It's not that it's been explained. So I would maybe just where I wanted to see it get done, I guess. Maybe part of me is like, okay, if let's say, for instance, you've been starving me of sex for the last 6 months. Like, hey, look, I've been starved of sex for the last 6 months. Now I know what I did was wrong. I want to give you a bit of my mindset in terms of why I did what I did. I think being rejected and stuff like that, it allowed me to go over there and do what I did. And, I have to be honest, I was wrong for it. And you don't really hear that. You more hear, it's a quick gloss over. You know what I mean? There's no sitting in the situation when you're telling us what you did. For instance, the best example I can give you is when he says he went to the diner with that young lady. It's how quick he describes it. But when he's talking about how he got rejected, how he got this, he got that, it's so detailed and so time scale taken. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle with Derek Jackson and his particular part. I think that's why people struggle with Derek Jackson and his accountability in that aspect. I'll keep that short. The next part I want to say is we had a conversation about grace as well. Around grace, and I think it was a good conversation. I won't dive into it because I think the video did enough of a job when you guys spoke about it the night before. But then I think I really want to dive into this another time. The mum issue is a big thing. I really want to dive into that and just talk about in-laws and talk about how that can affect relationships as well, and how that can be detrimental to any relationship if you mess it up at the beginning and don't actually rectify that relationship. And then the final thing that also was coming up quite a bit was, or final two things, can we separate the art from the artist? I want to talk about that as well during the week. Now, the thing I want to focus on is I saw some comments saying about cheating, about him cheating, and men always have an excuse as to why they cheated. And I think that's really interesting, right? Because I think when we're saying about why do men always have an excuse as to why they cheated, I think women have the same thing. I just think that it just looks different. Okay. I think it just looks different. I think when men begin to explain that they were a cheater, they explain it and they don't get the grace. Women explain they're a cheater and everybody goes, I can understand why, he wasn't giving you what you needed. He wasn't taking care of you. He wasn't giving you affection. It's understandable. And a man says, I wasn't getting no affection. I wasn't being treated right. Oh, how can you just go out and cheat? What do you mean he's going to go out and cheat? You're not going to stay in it? Come on. And I think that's what I saw some of it in my comment section as well. And I was like, look, I hear it. I am not giving him a pass, but I do have to be realistic. I have to be realistic that sometimes when women explain why they cheated, it's like we give them grace. We say, hey, look, we understand. We're empathizing with them. We get it. Sis, you wouldn't have cheated if he didn't make you cheat. We don't say make you cheat. We say, oh, he wouldn't have cheated. He wouldn't have cheated. You know, you wouldn't have cheated if you didn't have to. You were literally pushed to the brink. You were on your last tether. You know, you literally were on the edge of that relationship. You were about to leave. And you know what? You had already signed out when you went and cheated. I totally get it. It's an excuse, right? So it's the same thing with Derek Jackson. That's the kind of grace I can give him. I can give him that kind of grace. You know, so I think in some regard, I just go to myself and say, I understand why he's getting smoke. I'm just saying that there are some aspects of it where I'm like, you know, I there's some parts of it where it's like, oh, okay, you know, it's like, oh, you know, I definitely have to say this part I can hold Derek Jackson accountable. This part I can say, you know what, I can give you some grace in that area because I understand people make dumb mistakes. Okay, all right, we can make dumb mistakes. Okay, so it's about taking we want him to be accountable, and he shouldn't be unaccountable. And that's both that's all three of them, I believe. Derek, Keke, and Falynn as well, you know. And so yeah, it's gonna be an interesting conversation. So I won't do it today because I gotta be somewhere, but definitely want to have that conversation in a week. So look out for the post for that. And then I've got some great things. So let me put this thing here as well, because I really want to get you guys to do this for me as well. So I want to have a thing called opera. Okay, opera. Okay. Okay, so I want to do this new thing called opera. So just to shout out anybody here, listen, guys, I want to be able to start telling some real stories. You know, I really want to be able to tell some real stories from real people. So I've termed this thing called opera, right? Which is ordinary people, extraordinary relationships, right? So I want to start interviewing regular, schmegular people like myself, like you guys. If you have a relationship story, we want to hear it. You know what I mean? We want to hear your story, your relationship stories, and what you've been through. And if you want to share it, we'd love to hear your story. You know what I mean? I just feel like we need to have. I just feel like I want to be able to have real people on. Like I have TV people, reality TV people on, but after a while, it's like, yeah, but you know, this is a channel where I've always wanted it to have just regular people. That's why we have the panels. Give you guys the opportunity to actually say what you want to say. You know, so I wanna be able to definitely be able to get some people. So if you are interested, I definitely want to give you my email so you guys can email me. I've got a few people already. Oh crap, I done deleted the thing. Okay, sorry. I done deleted my thing. But I'll give you guys the email so you can join. So if you have a story, you have a story, you have a relationship issue or something, we want to hear about it, you know, on our opera, you know. So let's see, little black book. No, not that one, because other people, I've got that's too many stuff going into that one. At gmail.com. Yeah. All right, cool. So there we go. All right, I'll put it in the chat as well. So if you guys got some stories, you know, good or bad, you know, it's probably going to be mostly bad, I can tell. Then we want to hear it, you know, your stories by you. We want to hear those stories. So if you've been in some interesting relationships or interesting situations, or maybe you have a dilemma, or maybe you have, you know, you want to tell your side of the story or something, we want to offer you the opportunity, because I feel like, you know what, it's time to change and get some, you know, just regular people on here and just hear your thoughts. You know, we already have it with the panels. It'd be good to hear your thoughts. I'll put up a post on my community page as well. But yeah, just want to let you guys know. Someone said PG-13 descriptions. You know, you can tell us. You can tell it. Of course. I mean, listen. Hey, if you're gonna tell a story about what y'all are doing in the bedroom, how great it was, you might want to put some descriptions on that still. But yeah, definitely want to be able to hear, you know, the thoughts as well. All right. So if you have got a story, you have got a dilemma or something like that, this is going to be the place to do it. Right. So shout us. We'll definitely want to bring you on the channel and get you talking as well. Another round. Yeah. But so, so what's that rated here for rated R descriptions? That's too funny. But yeah, final thoughts again. Jay says she doesn't have any cheating stories. It's not just cheating stories. It can be stories about relationship, good ones, bad ones, whether, you know, you've been married, maybe you've been divorced, like how you got married. Like Elsid always tells her, you know, she got married. I love Elsid's story. She gives great points of view. You know, we want to hear your story, you know what I mean? So like Trey always has a story as well. You know, I think that'd be great to hear, you know. You know, so we hit good to hear your points. Yeah, I hear you, Jay Blake. I've already messaged her as well, so don't worry. But I've got a few other people that I'm trying to contact as well, because I think I see some great stories from different people that have been through some things. So yeah, we're gonna get some people on this channel as well. And I mean any kind of stories. It can be even just you in your single life. You could be enjoying single life. I want to hear stories about why you're enjoying your single life. You know what I mean? I wanna hear things like, you know, if you're not ready to date or whatever, why are you not ready to date? Why do you feel like you want to stay in the place that you're in? We want to hear those stories as well. It's not about just my man cheated on me or my girl cheated on me. I don't want to just hear those stories, you know what I mean? You know, we want to hear some great stories as well. We want to hear some great aspects to it. So if you don't try, you will never know. I think it'd be a great story. But, you know, I'll always give you guys the opportunity as well to tell a bit of your story as well, in terms of how you grew up, how you so we can understand where you're also coming from as well. So yeah, we'd love to hear those things well. And I'll try, in fact, you know what, I will start, hopefully I'll get with like the panelists first and get them to tell their stories as well, because you tell some real things. Or maybe you can tell us your story about how you're handling the dating scene, or, you know, how you're finding online dating. Have you gone on some dates that have been great, have been a thing? What's your best date? You know, tell us why it was such a great date. You know what I mean? I want to hear some really just regular, degular, schmegular, you know, stories, you know, and we're going to make them amazing. You know what I mean? That's true. That's a good point, Dorica. That's a good point. So if you don't want to show your face, if you don't want to come on camera, if you don't want to come up and speak, then you can send in your stories as well. So the email is below. You can send your stories as well. Okay. So let me put that as where you can send it in that way, because maybe you're not a person who can, you know, necessarily do the talking online. That's fine. Send us your stories to my email, and we'll definitely read them out and, you know, make it into a live and stuff like that, right? Because we want to hear some real stories out here. Okay. Yeah. So whether it's good dating, whether it's single, whether it's you know, whether it's, you know, whether it's I have great parents, you know what I mean, how they've supported you. Maybe it was, you know, one of the greatest times somebody has given you support and cared for you and love for you, or where your friends have been amazing, or your friends have been great, or, you know, someone said best sex you ever had. That's the story you want to tell me that story. You know what I mean? I don't want to restrict what the stories are, but it's relational. Maybe you've got great parents, maybe you've got great grandparents, maybe you were raised by great parents, maybe you were adopted, you know what I mean? Maybe you're raised in another country and came to the US or the UK. What was that experience like? You know what I mean? We want to hear some of those stories. So email your stories in, and you can be anonymous if you want to be anonymous. I would love for your name to be attached to it, but if you want to be anonymous, be anonymous. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, you know, you can send your story to me, and I'll send you some details back. Just maybe, like I'll say, like maybe some further questions, maybe just kind of enhance the story a bit more. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, I would love to be able to hear that from you guys as well, right? So we definitely can have that real conversation. Green Oak said, Tyreek was telling the truth about Scott, but I told y'all he was telling the truth. Didn't I tell you? Okay. Hey, Tuza, yeah, please do tell us your story. I love to hear a story like that. Send in that. That's a good story. Send that in. Anybody who's like survived, civil war or something like that, send that in. If you got grandparents that have been in wars or whatever, send that in. If you've got grandparents who have been in the civil rights or been in the bombing and the riots and stuff like that, send in your stories. We want to hear them. Okay, send in your stories. We want to hear them, because I think these are going to be some great things to start chopping up. Like, it's not every day reality TV get a platform. Do you know what I mean? I want to step a little bit away from that now as well, because I just feel like it's getting a little bit repetitive now. I've been doing it for a few years now, and I realize that you guys, are also the audience, but also your consumers as well. And I think it's time to give you guys a platform and a mic as well. Stacey said, I have a personal story, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to talk about it in front of people. Stacey, you don't have to do a face. If you want to come on camera, that's fine. You can send in your story. That would be amazing as well. If you want to send in your story as well, and if you want to send it anonymously, you can send it in anonymously as well. And we'd love to hear that part as well. So that would be good for us to hear from you as well. So any kind of story out there, we don't want to restrict it. If you've survived wars, if you've had intrusive mother father-in-laws, just stuff like that, you know what I mean? So we want to hear, Someone said Trey said he's got to change the stories. That's fine. Change the names if you got to. Just send it in. You don't have to use the real names. We're not asking you to use real names. Send in your story. We want to hear some of your stories, and then we'll read them out. You know what I mean? And we can have a discussion about it. You know what I mean? And that's fine. I don't have a story, but just a question. Okay, send in your question, Z. Okay. All righty. Okay. So yes, guys, I appreciate you lot. We're gonna bounce off now. We gonna definitely look forward to you guys chopping up some real stories and stuff, and I cannot wait. I know, and I've already hit up Felicia as well. Also, I found another person. I want to see if you guys have seen this, and I want to see if I can get the person up. Hold on. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I was just talking to this person, and we organized for an interview on a Wednesday. So I'm going to definitely pop the post so you guys can see it too. And I don't know if you guys have seen this clip, because someone sent me this clip, and I was like, all right, cool. So I reached out to the lady, and I was like, let me get into this. So I don't know if you guys have seen this clip. This clip here. Oh, if it's just a story time, just put story time. Dahlia, if it's just a story time, put story time. If it's a question in the subject, put question. Whatever you're doing, if you're asking me a question or a dilemma or a story time, just put it in the subject so I know what it is. I don't get many emails that email, so I can sort it out.
I know you want a dog, you want to go on a trip, you want a bag, you want all this. No, okay. I want $3,500. That's what I want, and it's your non-refundable security deposit.
So I don't know if you've seen this video. I didn't want to show too much because these people they will definitely be hunting me on YouTube about you've done used their video. But that the young lady who's talking in that video, I reached out to her. I was like, I want to hear the story, because why $3,500? She said security deposit to get me back, and I'll come back in your life. I thought it was quite funny. But I definitely want to interview her, and I want to be able to get her ideas. I want to get more people like this. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to be something huge. I like people that are just, funny things like this. So it should be interesting to see, right? So we're going to interview her on Wednesday. I've got Leanne from Ready to Love on Monday. And just to let you know, guys, I know you guys asked me about Married at First Sight. Let me tell you something about Married at First Sight. I think I'm on a blacklist. I'm going to be honest with you. The reason why I don't interview people from Married at First Sight is because I think I'm on a blacklist, similar to how I was on Ready to Love when it first started, right? Because I have spoken to many of the Married at First Sight people. They get to come into me, okay? I get talking to the PR. We organize a date and a time, and then something happens and they cancel. So that's the reason why you don't see interviews. I just saw Crystal with Kirsten. I haven't reached out to Kirsten to see, but a lot of the interviews get canceled because I think within a certain period of time, I think I might be on a certain list. So I was like, that's the reason why. You know, and so that's why you won't never see me necessarily someone who's on the show immediately be able to interview with me directly, because I think they know I'm not about to bull crap with them. I will ask them real questions. And so it gets like that, you know? And so if that's why you haven't seen those interviews, that is why. I'm never going to change the way I do YouTube. So that may never change. Okay. So that may never change on those aspects. So, as well. So I'll reach out and see. Absolutely. Yes. There have been some other, cast members interview with people much smaller than subscriber. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. It may have been when I did that interview, that young lady with Zach situation. It may have been. At this point, I don't really care. You know what I mean? At this point, I don't even care anymore. So we are gonna talk freely, regardless whether they come on or not. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're gonna be out here, baby. Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna bounce off. I'm gonna love you and leave you, and we're gonna see better days. Much appreciation, guys. Don't forget to send in your stories. Love.